name's Dan, I'm from Hope Technology, and today I'm going to show you how to bleed the RX4 Shimano road brake. For this process you're going to need a set of Allen keys, a flat bladed screwdriver, our easy bleed tool, or you can use the Shimano funnel as well. They both work on the Shimano lever. You need some mineral oil and a syringe, and then if you bought the caliper from new, you will get these bleed blocks in the box. If you haven't bought it from brand new and you don't have the bleed blocks, you can use an old set of pads. I wouldn't use a new set of pads, or you could get them contaminated with the oil. So either these bleed blocks or an old set of pads. And then also you're going to want some alcohol spray or just any kind of cleaning spray, a rag, and then it's also good practice to wear some nitrile gloves as well. So first of all, you're going to obviously take your front wheel out. You're then going to take the pads that are in the caliper out. And then keeping the pad pin you've just removed, just put the bleed blocks in. And you want to use both bleed blocks, not just the one. So put both bleed blocks in and then just thread that in. Now the caliper's set up as well. If it's a front caliper, it's not too bad because it's going to be at the lowest point. You always want, obviously, the lever higher than the caliper. And then also it's good practice to have the bleed port on the caliper actually higher than both the pistons. So on a rear brake where it's going to be sat down like that, you want to remove the caliper and just let it hang down, just so the bleed port is at the highest point. Just be careful as well with the rear brake, with the hose going under the bottom bracket area. If there's a big loop that goes up, you can get air trapped in that loop. So try and have it as straight as you can. But as we're bleeding the front brake now, that doesn't really apply, so you can keep it bolted on, that's fine. You're going to want to set your syringes, or syringe, sorry, there's just the one. So just using Shimano mineral oil. Just going to want to fill the syringe about 2/3 full. And then just a little bit of air in the syringe, just hold it up, let all the little bubbles rise, and then just push that out, like that. You're then going to want to place the caliper syringe onto the caliper, so using a 2.5mm Allen key. You're going to remove the bleed port and put the caliper syringe on. Then once you've put the caliper syringe on, you're going to want to pull back the hood on the lever. And also, before you bleed the system, you don't want to make sure that the lever is in the furthest out on the reach adjust. This will just, before you bleed the system, you need to make sure that the lever is at the furthest out position on the reach adjust. That's just how they need to be bled. So remove the bleed port. There will also be an O-ring, make sure that comes with it. Using the funnel, just thread that onto the lever. And then you want to put just a little bit of oil in that funnel. Not too much, but just a little bit. Once you're happy with the setup, you know, the funnel can be, the lever can be perfectly flat, but it's all right with the funnel like that, as long as it's not too harsh an angle. Once you've got both the funnel and the syringe attached, you can then begin the bleeding process. So you're going to push the caliper syringe up into the funnel. Once you've got, you obviously don't want to push it all the way down, you're going to push fluid into the system. And then you're going to pull back on the syringe as well, which is just going to pull it back from the funnel into the caliper. You don't want to be pulling too hard, or you're just going to pull loads of air past the seals in the syringe. And you'll see when you're doing this, there's a lot of air coming up, both at the lever side and the caliper side. Make sure that you don't ever let the fluid get too low in the funnel or in the syringe. Obviously then you're going to draw air into the system, which is not what we want. Once you've done this process a few times, you're happy that there's no more air coming out of the system. You want to pull down on the lever and then using either a zip tie, a toe strap, or even you can hold it yourself, but then it's just a lot easier just to grab something. So just pull the lever in and then just hold it down with a toe strap. Doesn't need to be really mega tight or anything. So once that's down, you then want to just create a vacuum in the caliper. So just gently pull back on the syringe and you'll try and draw any more air that's in the caliper out. Once you've pulled the lever in and you've got it strapped down, you're going to create a vacuum in the syringe. So you're just going to ever so slightly just pull on the syringe, not too much, or you'll just pull air past the seals in the syringe. Just pull and then push. Pull again. You're just trying to get any more air that can be trapped in the caliper. And just creating a little vacuum will force those little air bubbles out. As you can see, just a few bubbles coming up in the syringe. And then push down again. Push and pull, just do this process 4 or 5 times, just as long as it takes for all of the air to be removed from the caliper. If there's still air coming out after 4 or 5 times, then just keep going until there's no more air coming out of the system, basically. Yeah. So once you're happy there's no more air coming out of the caliper, while still holding onto the lever, just release the toe strap or zip tie or whatever you had holding it on. And then you're going to push down on the caliper syringe, just pushing fluid back up into the lever, and you're just going to slowly let the lever push out. You'll feel it start to push. Push a bit of air up there, like that. Now, once you've done that, you're going to want to remove the caliper syringe off the caliper. So you're just going to get your bleed port screw ready, because this will leak a bit of fluid. So remove the syringe. If it doesn't leak any fluid, then there's not enough pressure in the system, so you've probably done something wrong or you've not bled the caliper properly. So it is a good sign that it leaks out. Once you've done that, now move on to the lever. So what you're going to do is you're just going to flick the lever like that. Basically just encouraging any more air that could be trapped in the hose up here. So just flick the lever like that. That's also going to push the pistons out in the caliper, which is fine. You can get a good feel for the brake once they're pushed out. If there's a solid feel to the brake, then you've done a pretty good bleed. If it's really spongy, you might want to repeat the first process again, just to encourage any more air that could be in the system. So just flick the lever. Now using your flat-bladed screwdriver, you're just going to carefully push the pistons back in the caliper. Obviously you don't want to damage any pistons or anything, so try and actually use a screwdriver on the bleed blocks. Obviously it doesn't matter if you damage them. So just push them back, flick the lever again, and you'll feel the brake go solid. Repeat this process a few times until you're happy there's no more air coming up from the caliper side, like that. Once you're happy you've got a solid feeling brake, you can then, for the last time, just push the pistons back in the caliper, like that. Then you're going to want to put the plunger into the funnel. Make sure that's in, so when you pull it off, it's not going to leak fluid everywhere. Get your bleed port top cap ready, and you're just then going to want to remove the funnel. Like that. Once you've done that, basically now you just need to clean off both surfaces, just with a bit of spray, just spray it and just wipe it off a bit. Obviously don't want any fluid that's going to leak onto your bar tape or onto your lever. Once you've cleaned it off, just pull the hood back down, reset the hood. Now you want to remove the bleed blocks out of the caliper. And then same again, just a bit of spray. Clean off the caliper. So there will be fluid that should have leaked out, so just make sure that you do clean up all excess fluid. Any fluid that's left on there can then get onto your pads and onto your rotors, which is then going to contaminate them, and you're not going to have a good feeling brake. So once you've cleaned it off, you want to reinsert the pads. And once you've done that, you're basically ready to go and ride. Put the front wheel in, check the brake feels good. If you've not got a good feeling brake and it is still spongy, you're probably just going to want to bleed the caliper again. There can be times where there's air just trapped behind the pistons in the caliper. If that is the case and it keeps happening, you can push the pistons out all to one side, put the syringe on, push it back, and it'll just fire that little bit of air back out, but it should be fine. If you're happy with the bleed, put your front wheel back in, set the brake up, and you're ready to ride.